And we went live with just the camera, but we weren't able to allow people in because of COVID. So we had to just feel your presence, but not actually be able to be together. And there's something very beautiful about that. There's something very beautiful about what we've all experienced over the last year and a half of the power of technology to connect us. And yet, there's a power of the actual energy that you don't experience through the waves, that you actually only experience in the present. And so we're here in this presence. But it's not me to you. It's all of us together in this sacred experience. So together we are able to come. And it's such a blessing to actually be able to look out and see the divine in the form of each of you, rather than just in the form of the camera, knowing that you are somewhere beyond it, but actually be able to look out and to see that divine in each of you. We spend this time of satsang in question and in answers. And we get a lot of questions that come in advance, and what we usually do is we start with one of the questions that comes in advance, and then open it up to any questions that anyone here has. And today I'll just read the question in advance. I am in a family situation where I cannot leave for more than a few days to seek the guidance and blessing of a guru to further my sadhana every day. Should I continue my journey without a guru, or just wait until a guru will come into my life when it's the right time? Or should I actively seek out to accelerate my sadhana? So the family situation that this person has mentioned is that she has a child who has autism and doesn't have supporting family members to help her take care of the child. It's important to realize that our sadhana our spiritual practice is not separate from our duties in the world. It's not that I have over here my duty and my dharma and my responsibilities, and then I have over here my sadhana. Actually, our spiritual practice is to fulfill our duties. In the Bhagavad Gita, the core scripture, Lord Krishna explains so clearly, it's 700 beautiful verses on fulfilling your dharma, fulfilling your life purpose, attaining awakening, enlightenment, all of that. And it's rooted in, from the beginning to the end, through all 700 verses, it's rooted in do your duty. If you had to, when I was in school and we had big thick books to read for classes, there was a series that came out called Cliff Notes, where you could buy, let's say you had to read Wuthering Heights or some other beautiful book that we were studying in English literature. Your choice was to read the book of a few hundred pages, or your choice was to buy these cliff notes that were, 10 pages or 15 pages on what are the core teachings. Now, obviously, for serious students, we were supposed to read the full book. Clearly, the teachers did not want anybody using cliff notes. But, students when we're busy, when we've got so much going on, so a lot of people would buy these cliff notes and not actually read the full book. If you had to prepare the cliff notes, this essence in bullet point of the Bhagavad Gita, right up there at the very top would be, do your duty. Do your duty. That's what you're here for. And in doing your duty, you are fulfilling your dharma. A lot of people think somehow, I'm stuck doing my duty, and so I don't have the time or the energy to find my purpose, or to find my dharma, or to engage in my spiritual practice. But the Bhagavad Gita makes it so clear, your duty is your spiritual practice. At the beginning of it, Arjuna says to Krishna, forget it. I don't want to fight this battle. I'm just going to go and I'm going to meditate in the caves. I'll become a sadhu. Now you'd think, from the perspective of spiritual awareness, awakening, enlightenment, truth, you'd think that God, in the form of Krishna, would say, great idea. Don't worry about this kingdom. Don't worry about the land. Don't worry about anybody. Yes, go to the cave. Do your meditation. Forget everything else. This is just an illusion. Get out of here. I was waiting for you to realize you were stuck. Just get out of here. Go to the caves. But he actually said the exact opposite. He said, not so fast. Your dharma is right here. You can go to the caves, and you can avoid this. But in doing so, you will never fulfill your dharma. You will never fulfill the purpose for which you have come onto earth. And so I say to this beautiful mother with a child with autism, that is not separate from your sadhana. Don't think of your child over here and your sadhana over there. How can you, in being with this child, see the divine. All of our spiritual studies, our spiritual practice, is rooted in how do we see God? Everywhere. Right? We put this tilak on our third eye. We chant beautiful prayers, especially to Lord Shiva to help us open the third eye. We do meditations upon the third eye. Why? What does the third eye show us? It's not just another place to put eyeliner and mascara on. Another item I can make up. We open the third eye because it's what shows us God. The Agya Chakra, this energy center of the power of discrimination. It's not discrimination of, oh, you're fat, you're skinny, you're dark, you're white, you look rich, you look poor. It's discrimination of truth from untruth, meaning content from form, divinity being the truth, from form being all of this which makes us think we're not God, that makes us think we're the body. And so all of our sadhana is rooted in that awareness that we are all the divine. That is the highest goal when you look at Patanjali's 8 limbs of yoga, right? We begin with yam and niyam. Where do we end up? Samadhi. What is samadhi? Union. Union with what? The divine. That union of the self with the divine. That's yoga. That's sadhana. That is not something for which we are supposed to push away our duties. If the universe has put into your hands, into your lap, a situation that requires your attention, allow that to be your sadhana. To this woman I would say, how can your tending to this child be your sadhana? How in this can you see the divine in this child? Can you see God in this child? Can you see God in yourself as the mother, the creator of this child? And of course that doesn't mean don't go to holy places. It doesn't mean don't read holy books. Of course read them. Come on pilgrimage. Bring the child. Bring the child on pilgrimage. The question is how to take these life challenges and actually bring them into the sadhana. Many of you may know, not necessarily many of you here, but many of our family online know, that one of the things that I've been in the midst of over the last 7 months is that my mom had a really bad stroke, a horrendous stroke, a brain hemorrhage. That's what made me go back to America in April. And aside from the beautiful and amazing moments there of a book launch and spiritual pilgrimage and whatnot, most of the time I actually spent taking care of her. And so now I've brought her back here with me. So Mom is here, literally, like up there. Not in the sky, like in a room up there. Once she gets over jet lag, we're going to be bringing her to Aarti and to Satsang, and everybody can meet her. But I mention it here because this was not what I was expecting. She's only 77, which is really young. especially by Western standards. I know in India, by 60 people are like, "Chalo mere ko upar le chalo," but by American standards, it's really young still. Not what I had in mind, not what I had planned, not part of the sadhana, especially for a sannyasi. But this was what the universe handed. And it's been such an extraordinary experience and such an extraordinary opportunity to actually just be in the presence of love. She's lost 97, 98, sometimes 99.9%, but usually around 97 or 98% of her cognition. So she pretty much doesn't know where she is, who she is, anything that's going on. And it's an opportunity to just actually be in the presence of love. No story, no identity, no drama, no expectation. And I share this with the mother of this child and everybody in so many different situations of duty, of challenges, of unexpected things that arise that we think are interfering with our sadhana. That actually the question is, how can I make this my sadhana? So how can I make this challenge, this duty, actually an opportunity to dive deeper? To be actually able to be in the presence of the divine in any circumstance. Because ultimately that's what the highest goal of sadhana is. So let your son be your sadhana and bring him on pilgrimage. I know it's a challenge. We just brought my mom from LA all the way here in a wheelchair, unable to move. It's a challenge. But it's doable. It's absolutely doable. And until it's able to be done, let your home be your spiritual pilgrimage place. Let there be mantras playing in the house. If you don't have time to sit and close your eyes and do japa, let your japa play as the mantra coming throughout the speakers of your home. It'll benefit your child as well. So there's always ways to bring sadhana into our life. We just have to realize that our life isn't separate from our sadhana. several questions. First of all, is this duty something that is in alignment with where I know I am going spiritually in my life? Because there's a lot of different places that we also get our ideas of duties from. So for example, we have our own idea. Every one of us, if I went around and said, okay, tell me all your duties, everybody would have a list of what we think our duties are. Some come from within ourselves. A lot of them come from our culture. Scroll social media or watch TV and you're going to discover you've got a duty to lose weight. You've got a duty to be much, much more attractive than you are. You've got a duty to have really white teeth and clear skin. Right? I mean, this is what advertising is. It basically tells us that if you are not looking your best, you have somehow failed. I just spent, as I mentioned, so many months in California where pretty much everywhere you go, there's some or other anti-aging clinic, place, billboard, sign. Anti-aging is like the big thing. Reverse aging, anti-aging. Now, obviously, we all know that time only moves forward. We know that we all have physical bodies that are doing what matter does, which is degenerate, at pretty predictable rates. We've got some ability through what we eat, our exercise, our mindset, supplements, to make it a healthier run. Don't smoke, you get an extra several years. But the physical body is degenerating. We can't anti-age or reverse age. But I mention it because there's this idea that somehow, if you are aging, you are failing. That you're failing in your duty. That if you've got gray hair and wrinkles, you've somehow failed. Like, didn't you see the sign on your corner? You should have gone into the store, into the clinic. Like, there's a billboard everywhere. Don't give in to aging. So then we think, well, it's our duty to not age. It's our duty to look like we're 25 our entire lives. So when you think about duties, we've actually got a lot of duties that are not really duties, that have come into us because of marketing, because of advertisement. Then we've got some duties that are not our duties, but our culture imposes them upon us. Be a good girl, right? Good girls don't do this. Good boys don't do that. Behave yourself. What are the neighbors going to say? Right? We've got duties that are given not because they're actually our personal dharma, not because they're leading to our awakening, but just because they're sort of societal norms. Don't laugh too loudly, don't sit like that, don't speak like this, don't use those words, don't go here, don't act like that. And of course, each society has different norms. But a lot of us, we internalize these as duties. I have a duty to be a good girl. I have a duty to be the good boy or the strong boy. Whatever our norms are that we're given. Let me be very clear. Those are not your duties. We may choose to abide by societal norms. It certainly makes for smoother functioning societies when kind of everybody does the same thing. But you also end up with a lot of oppression. You end up with a lot of repression. You end up with a lot of discrimination. So do not think that it is your duty to do what the neighbors say is what a good girl does or a good boy does. It's not your duty to make the neighbors jealous of you or your family. So once you start teasing out the duties that our social media feed, that the advertising, that society, that our neighbors give us, we realize we've actually got a lot fewer duties. And those duties are to our own awakening, to our own truth. But again, that doesn't mean that it can only happen in a cave. As Lord Krishna taught in the Gita, it happens through fulfillment of those duties, which actually are part of your dharma. And that's not something that there is an equation for, but it is something that each of us know inside. And so don't allow anyone else to convince you of what your duty is. Check in with yourself. On some level, the caterpillar knows its duty is to become a butterfly. And when it gets that signal to climb the tree, no matter how many friends it has to leave down below, no matter how many other caterpillars may be saying, "What are you, crazy? Don't go, don't go," it's going to go anyway. Because on some level it knows. And on some level we all actually are able to tap in to that higher calling. And by the way, that higher calling can be found in sweeping the floor, in picking up trash, in cleaning toilets, in making a cup of tea. It has nothing to do with what the actual thing is. It has to do with, are you able through this? Is this taking you to your next level of awakening, of truth, of connection with the divine in yourself? And that's something that only you can answer. So I would say, in terms of the balance of duties, is check in with yourself. What is it that someone else is convincing you is your duty because they want you to do that? Like the neighbors really want you to act like them so that their children don't get the wrong idea from you and also go astray? I mean, that's usually what's up, right? You know, it's get your kids to behave. Why? I mean, why would the neighbors worry? They worry because so that their children don't get these wrong ideas from your children. And it gives them a better handle on their own kids. But don't take that as your duty or your dharma. You can only find that from within. And ask yourself with each aspect, is this helping me? Am I able to peel back another layer of myself through it? And then you'll know. Yeah.
मेरे मन की बात भी आपने जान ली। मैं यम नियम के बारे में भी मनोमन सोचता था, तो आपने पतंजलि के 8 प्रिंसिपल है उसके बारे में, फर्स्ट जो प्रायोरिटी में है, फर्स्ट स्टेप है, उसके बारे में बताया। मेरी आपसे प्रार्थना है, हम जो प्राइमरी बेस के 2 से हमारा जो 5 यम और 5 नियम है, उसके बारे में उससे तो आगे कूद जाते, लेकिन आसन, प्राणायाम, प्रत्याहार, धारणा, ध्यान, समाधि में लग जाते हैं। लेकिन जो प्रिंसिपल है हमारा पहला यम और नियम, उसमें हम फैल क्यों जाते हैं?
Beautiful question. So what he asked is, in the 8 limbs of yoga as given by the sage Patanjali, we begin with yam and niyam. And he said, but why is it that everyone tends to skip over those and go straight into asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharan, dhyan, samadhi, that we forget or we skip over yam and niyam? Why? The reason I think is because asana is something that I can do for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes. फिर I am done. Tick कर दिया, मेरे आसन हो गया. ठीक? प्राणायाम ठीक है. 5 मिनट किया, 10 मिनट किया, 15 मिनट किया, 5-10 minutes, whatever it may be, done. उड़ गए. Tick, I've done my pranayam. Similarly, all of that, other than samadhi, everything is something that I can actually practice. I'm sitting here, staring at a candle flame, chanting a mantra, meditating. Cool milake. 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and I am done. And that's if I have a long asana practice. If it's a just Surya Namaskar, बड़े आराम से 15-20 मिनट में मेरा सारे काम हो गया. Right? We can be done with all of the others, from asana up through meditation, depending on how long we choose to practice. You could be done in 15-20 minutes a day. Couple rounds of Surya Namaskar, a little bit of this, little bit of that, 5 minutes meditation, and you can be done. And you can have checked off the day, spiritual practice, complete, done. Now I can go to work, cheat people, lie, hoard, make money through oppressing other people, suppressing other people, through violence. The problem with yam and niyam, वो तो 24 घंटे का काम है. कोई नहीं करना चाहता. Yam and niyam is actually how we live. It's not a 5-minute-a-day job that I can do and then I stand up and I'm done. Yam and niyam, if I'm really going to live it, if I'm really going to live by non-violence and truth, non-stealing, non-hoarding, well, that means literally everything I buy, everything I eat, everything I wear, everything I speak, how I travel, how I make a living, what brand of shampoo I use, literally every single moment, what my handbag is made out of, what brand of different things I am buying, everything. How I am speaking to people. We're running late. We're supposed to be somewhere. The phone rings. We pick it up and we say, yeah, I'm on the way. Rasta pe hain. Now we know we haven't even left the house. Right? How many times? Ha, rasta pe hain. And in our mind, yeah, we're just getting ready to leave. But if I'm really practicing yam and niyam, and I am living in satya, truthfulness, there's no such thing as a white lie. A white lie is just an excuse to allow us to speak untruth. But if I'm committed to truthfulness, it makes life a little bit more difficult, because I can't kind of smooth talk my way through things. I really have to look at every moment and every minute of my life. But you'll notice that Patanjali made Yam and Niyam the very first limbs of yoga. And the truth is, चाहे एक building हो, चाहे मकान हो, चाहे अपनी योग हो, अगर हम तीसरी मंजिल से शुरू करें, कोई भी तूफान आ जाए, हम गिर जाएंगे. जब तक solid foundation ना हो. I said, there's a reason that Patanjali made those, limb 1 and 2, made them the foundation. Because whatever you're building, whether it's a yoga practice, or a home, or any structure, you cannot start on the 3rd floor. You have to have a foundation. If you try to start on the 3rd floor, the minute any little storm comes, any wind comes, your building will topple over. And this is where the foundation of our practice of yoga has to be in how we live. In nonviolence, in word, in thought, in action. And it takes us through a very beautiful practice. The last, of course, Ishwar Pranidhan. Surrender. Well, nobody wants to surrender. Nobody wants to surrender. We all want to have this like death grip on life. What I want, how I want it, when I want it. But Yam and Niyam reminds us that ant mein, we actually have to surrender. So it's beautiful to remember that this is the core of yoga. It's the core of that practice of union. And without it, you're just doing exercises. Tika, take your foot, put it behind your head, no problem, that's great. But then it becomes acrobatics, not actually yoga. हम आपके प्रश्न कल से शुरू करें. Okay? Okay.
I wanted to give a note.
Yeah. We'll start. I was saying we'll start tomorrow. We'll start with this tomorrow. It's such a beautiful blessing again to be together. We'll be having satsang now every evening. Come and join us after the Aarti. Sometimes we'll be having also a beautiful live kirtan just before satsang. We'll put in meditation. Sometimes we'll begin with it. Sometimes we'll end with it. It's a very, very dynamic flow of music, of meditation, of the questions and answers. So I look so forward to being together with you all every evening in this sacred presence of truth.
Saviturvare